What's up, comic and pop culture fans? This is James with Minhunter Comics, and I asked you, the community, to help me out with some DC characters that either aren't being used correctly or just seemingly not at all. Maybe it's characters that you haven't seen in 10, 15 years, or maybe it's characters like Aquaman that are big time but don't seem to have their own series. We're gonna make it known to DC that these are the characters we want to see. We're gonna rank everything from, you know what, I disagree, I think we do see this person enough, all the way up to, I think they completely forgot about this individual. Before we get started, I want to thank you all for your input, and if you can continue, like the video, subscribe up, and join if you would like. It's the price of coffee a month, and it helps me do stuff like this on a full-time basis. I'm going to kick us off with the most obvious one. You guys are going to look for it. It's at the beginning of the video. Captain Carrot. We're going to put this on underused, but I understand why. I personally would like to see more, but I think the average reader is definitely more aligned to say that we see him enough and the appropriate amount of times. Looks like the Web-Bolly show is going to suggest Spoiler, and you're going to see a lot of those great 90s characters coming out today. Spoiler is one of those characters where they did get a little bit of a spotlight, and every so often they get the spotlight again. Hell, she even had her own Batgirl series. I actually would say that with Spoiler, I think we see a proportionate amount of her. Personally, I would like to see more, but I kind of disagree with this one because you do see Spoiler. So for a B-tier character, I actually think we see her a good amount of times. I am going to put this in our we see enough of category. Next up, we have Lobo. I do think Lobo has been underused. In fact, in very recent comics, we got more of Lobo's daughter than actual Lobo. That's kind of weird. I don't think he's horribly underused, but I do think it's been a little too long since we've got some solid Lobo going on, so I am going to agree with underused for Lobo. Next up, we got Ambush Bug from Silas 34. Ambush Bug is one of those characters that popped up in the 80s and 90s a bit, and still does, but I do think it is underused. I am going to file that as I understand why. This is a character even maybe lesser known than Captain Carrot. So while we don't see a lot of him, I think I do understand why. Don't forget your characters, DC. Let's get them soon. Rafi says, just to throw him out, what about Jonah Hex? Yes. So I'm definitely going to go with Jonah Hex on this one. I'm going to put in underused. He still gets a series now and then. He still shows up. Hell, we did have a movie. Wasn't great, but we did have a movie. And you know what? We could definitely stand to see more of him. I think that one's going to go underused. Ooh, I was hoping someone would say this. Jay Coroner says, I think Red Tornado, they never did anything with him. Yeah, this was DC's answer to having basically Vision, right? This is a very similar character to Vision. He falls apart, he gets resurrected. There are some good arcs, but after like 2007, I'm having a hard time even remembering him other than like the tiniest little cameo where maybe he gets killed off. We may actually put Red Tornado under horribly underused. Next up, we're going to go with Dead Man. I actually kind of disagree because I think Dead Man does show up. He played a significant part in the Injustice, and he's currently in Justice League Dark, so I actually think we do see Dead Man. I would love to get another Dead Man series. So it's right in between underused, and I think we see enough of him. Next up, we have from Shogunzilla, Animal Man. Okay, so we're definitely right about this one. After the New 52, Animal Man has been forgotten, and this is a character that Grant Morrison gave some life to. There is some really awesome stuff with this guy. He was like a C or D tier character for years, but he was brought into almost A-list territory because of good writing, and he's been seemingly dropped again, so we're going to put this character under horribly underused. Also, Shogunzilla says Azrael. I've been seeing a lot of A's today on this list. So Azrael, Jean-Paul Valley, is a character that is underused. Also, there was another iteration of Azrael, but obviously I think everyone's going to be talking about the Jean-Paul Valley. I mean, he's a member of the Bat family. James Tynion brought him in with his series, so he gets little glimpses, but it's certainly not enough. I don't think we're going to get a true another run. We did get a little mini-series recently. I think it's just going to be underused. I don't want to say horribly underused because I want to save some ones that deserve that maybe a bit more. Next up, we have the Spectre. Now, the Spectre actually holds one of my favorite 90s runs. He's been around a heck of a lot longer than that, as you know, dating back to the Golden Age, and every time he appears, it's great. He's usually reserved for some great writing. It is a bummer that we do not have an ongoing series or anything like that right now. So I don't think it's horribly underused because we do see him, but it tends to be in like that emergency mode. So I am going to go ahead and put him under underused. This is kind of an obvious one, but Tim Drake. So Tim Drake fans have been upset for probably about like 12, 13, 14 years now. The New 52 didn't do him right at all. I will say James Tynion had a nice little run when he was on Detective Comics. He was kind of crushing it with Tim Drake. It was like the 90s all over again, and how quickly that has all been forgotten. All of his motives and what he does has been very abandoned and retconned. And his character is not recognizable, unfortunately, from the Tim Drake we all know. Which actually is not so much underused, but bad writing. So we're going to actually put this one on he is used, it's just not done right. Next up, we have the Question and Black Canary. So the question still Renee Montoya right now? Because if it's Renee Montoya, I would disagree. We actually see Renee Montoya a lot, and whenever we do, it's a really great character that's very representative, great writing. So I would actually say for Renee Montoya, we do see enough of, and it works. Hat on the back for DC. I think they've done a great job with her. With the actual question meaning Vic, we don't see enough of. I am going to put that one under underused. It's been a bit. As for Black Canary, I disagree. We are getting movies, we're getting Birds of Prey. She had a huge part in Deceased. I just feel like Black Canary is maybe not one that, to me, should have been on this list. I definitely think she's going in the green under we've seen enough of. Wildcat. Yeah, we don't get enough Wildcat. I actually might put Wildcat under horribly underused. We definitely don't see. Pretty notable character that's been a bit forgotten, so we will put Wildcat in horribly underused. Then we have from Micah, says Elongated Man. Sure, yeah, you know what? Between Plastic Man and Elongated Man, I think the winner's going to go to Plastic Man. We certainly see Plastic Man more than Elongated Man. Elongated Man basically shows up in sort of multiversal spanning things and crises, and anything that you start to see a lot of DC characters, you'll definitely see Elongated Man, oftentimes a very small role. But I just don't think he's to the same leagues as like an Aquaman or a Plastic Man, so I'm going to leave him in underrated, not horribly underrated. Cynthia says Ragman. Oh boy, I'm going to have to agree here. Ragman is one of those characters that came out of the 70s from DC that does get a bit forgotten, but the people that know him know him. Really cool character, really cool concept, and it's great that after these many decades we have such an original character. I am going to put Ragman under horribly underrated. Next up, Fallen Icon is going to say Ragman again and Azrael as well as Blue Devil. Okay, we got to talk about Blue Devil. Man, when I was watching the Swamp Thing show, I was amazed to see the Blue Devil make an appearance. I thought that was so cool because for years I've thought this character is horribly forgotten. At this point, he is so forgotten. But aside from that arc in the Swamp Thing show, I think we gotta drop him in seemingly forgotten. Blue Devil, where you at? Robert Quinlan says Booster Gold. Yeah, we're definitely due for a series from Booster Gold, I would say. He certainly had some appearances in the more beginning stages of the DC Rebirth, but since like 2016, 17, 18, Booster Gold's been pretty gone. Just like that, I got another entry under completely forgotten, and it's gonna go to Sodom Yacht. Out of all the Green Lanterndom, this guy is the probably most important one, aside from the guys from Earth I'm talking about. The Blackest Night Prophecy is literally about him. This is a Superman-level Green Lantern with a Green Lantern ring, and he's been completely forgotten for years now. It actually makes no sense. It's like a continuity flaw in the grand scheme of DC. Why has Sodom Yop been forgotten? I do not know. So the Demon, a lot of times he's a Batman side character in some story, or he pops up in a Justice League Dark book here and there. I actually like that he shows up the amount he does. It kind of keeps that character sweet, keeps a mystery to him. I think he actually exists in the proportionate amount of space. So we're going to put him under, I think we do see enough of him. Then we've got, once again, Azrael, Tim Drake. We've already done those. But Superboy Prime. Yes, absolutely. So we do get Superboy Prime. Unfortunately, this is one of my favorite DC villains right here that is all-powerful. I'm talking like kicks Superman's ass. This is an amazing character with a fantastic backstory that simply is not around enough. They keep bringing him out only for Crisis and stuff like that, and we need way more Superboy Prime than just that. Yeah, we do see him, but it's misused, I think. Oh boy, here's one. Shade the Changing Man. So that is definitely a very underused character. I had to do some research on this one, and yeah, I certainly did find that he definitely gets filed under Forgotten. We're going to push him all the way up to horribly underused. Impact says Green Arrow. I feel like we get a proportionate amount of Green Arrow, and we had some Green Arrow series. There's never an ongoing run. There's usually like maxi series and stuff like that, but I think we get the right amount of Green Arrow. I mean, he is a Justice League kind of A-lister. Oh, I kind of want to put him under underused, but I'm actually going to say we get enough Green Arrow. Phantom Stranger. Ooh, good one. So here's where I actually think Phantom Stranger actually shows up the perfect amount. Just like the Demon, there should be mystery and mystique around this character. So I like that the Phantom Stranger only shows up when he's needed. This should be a very scarce character, well known and all that, but should be scarce. I like that this list is actually sticking to well-known characters that are underused, because obviously you can point out a million characters that were used like once or twice and never seen again, but I like that y'all stuck to the prompt on this. By the way, did anyone see that Zoe Saldana wants to play a DC character? I actually think she would make a really good Madame Xanadu, but I would totally settle for an awesome Vixen. I think she would absolutely crush that. She is the first Black JLA superhero member. I think she is a notable one, and we're going to park her under underused. No, you know what? She might have to get bumped up into horribly underused. We definitely don't get enough Vixen now that I think about it. Elongated Man, already did that. The Question Spectre, already did that. Aquaman, okay. Aquaman, I could be wrong, but there seems to be no plans for an ongoing, especially with how central that character is to the DC universe. He's got a great mythos and potential for a new awesome story. The New 52 is a great example of what can be done if good writing is put into it. I'd love to see more of Aquaman in a bigger setting. He is, after all, one of the founding members of the JLA. Come on, we gotta see more of him. He's not horribly underused, but I think you definitely would say he is underused. Mr. Bloom, a character that was completely forgotten, and it's obvious. So this was a New 52 anti-Joker right here. Great character. It's really strange how they introduced him, the solid writing behind it, and then it's just like, where are you, bro? So it's kind of looking, now maybe they could say that it was all in their grand plan in a couple years when they do bring him back, but the fact that he hasn't made another appearance is really strange. So we are actually going to have to put this in seemingly forgotten. All right, and then we got Firestorm here. Yeah, it was great seeing him in the Injustice video games and in the Injustice comics, but yeah, Firestorm, where you at? That's so true. You know, for such a notable character like that, he's definitely B tier, not A. With good writing, maybe we could get him to A, though, and I don't think we're there, so I might actually put Firestorm under horribly underused. Another comment saying Azrael. By the way, Azrael and Spectre are the most commented things here. That's pretty interesting. Booster Gold, we already did that. Simon Dark, oh my god. Okay, that's another one that had a arc in, I want to say 2007. 18 issues we're talking here, and then was complete. forgotten. Unfortunately, it's relegated now to just a cult following at this point. So we're going to put him under seemingly forgotten. The Metal Men. Okay, yeah. The Metal Men is a tough one. It's a very antiquated style of set of characters. I think it would be difficult, but you can do it. They brought them back in the 90s. You see them from time to time. We definitely could use a little Metal Men. I think it would be a challenge as a writing team where it doesn't easily match up with modern style of writing, but I'd love to see it if someone wants to tackle that. I feel like Tom Taylor could do a good job with that. Challengers of the Unknown, very similar to Metal Men. That actually might go under seemingly forgotten. There was a huge Challengers of the Unknown run. I think maybe modern writers are just too afraid to use the Challengers of the Unknown. Too much of an oddball team. But yeah, that's definitely one that's been like, where are you at? Seemingly forgotten. Look, we have 2 more entries on Mr. Bloom. Interesting. Mr. Miracle. Yeah, the funny thing about Mr. Miracle, whether it be the 70s, the 80s, or that excellent recent run from like 10 years ago, when we get Mr. Miracle, it's really solid. So I do think he is underused, but I'm afraid to get more of him because I don't want the character junked up. I think we'll finish the list with Martian Manhunter. I was actually surprised to see that there was only 1 comment saying this too, which, man, just proves how underrated he is. Underrated, underused, all the above. Martian Manhunter is one of the founding members of the JLA, but even less appearances than Aquaman. It's an odd one. It's always perplexed me, especially considering how much of a fan favorite that character is, fans of the Justice League animated show and all that. So we're going to park him under horribly underused. Now you guys can let me know a couple that you think really needs to be brought back or maybe kind of retconned or changed, something like that. I'm not talking about Z tier characters. I want to know notable characters that you're just not getting enough of. As a side note, I will say, I think DC Comics have been kind of crushing it. I'm not super up to date with my reading, but the things I do catch always put a smile on my face, man, and that's the entire point. Also, I do think Image is leading the pack right now. Marvel Comics right now? I currently, and for the entire last year, have no Marvel pickups at the moment. That's crazy. I think the last one, and I even abandoned it, was Scarlet Witch. So you guys need to recommend some good modern Marvel reads, because right now it looks like DC and Image are taking us all to town here. So good job on DC and Image, but hopefully DC catches this video and inspires them to bring back some characters. Who knows? Anyway, I'll see you at the next video and keep on hunting.